organization member states are looking at cutting part of its budget by $400 million, according to a document released on Monday. The move comes in light of U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to withdraw his country from the United Nations agency.
And I terminated it.
Opening its annual executive board meeting on Monday, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus defended its work and recent reforms. He also again called on the U.S. to reconsider its exit.
We believe in continuous improvement, and we would welcome suggestions from the United States and all member states for how we can serve you and the people of the world better.
The budget cut will be addressed at the February 3rd to 11th meeting in Geneva as member state representatives discuss the agency's funding and work for the 2026 to 27 period. The newly released document shows the board wants to reduce its base program section of the budget from a proposed $5.3 billion to $4.9 billion. That's part of the originally proposed $7.5 billion budget, including money to eradicate polio and tackle emergencies. The U.S. is the WHO's biggest government donor, contributing around 18% of its overall funding. The agency has already separately taken some cost-cutting steps after Trump's announcement. But the document adds some board representatives also wanted to send a message that the WHO would preserve its strategic direction despite the challenges. Trump moved to exit the WHO on his first day in office 2 weeks ago. The process will take 1 year under U.S. law. On Monday, Tedros also specifically addressed some of Trump's criticisms, including around the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and the WHO's independence. He said the agency acted fast on the COVID outbreak, adding that the WHO is happy to say no to member states where requests go against its mission or science.
Furloughed employees and contractors protested in front of the USAID headquarters after the Trump administration on Monday moved to shut down the agency. Employees have been locked out of its headquarters since Trump ordered a freeze on most US foreign aid hours after taking office. USAID distributes billions of dollars of humanitarian aid around the world. However, Trump has said he wants to ensure it aligns with his America First policy. USAID provided 42% of all humanitarian aid tracked by the United Nations in 2024 and accounts for less than 1% of the total United States budget. Billionaire Elon Musk has had the agency in his sights for closure and is tasked with downsizing the federal government. A senior White House official speaking anonymously said Trump was considering merging USAID into the State Department and had entrusted Elon to oversee the efficiency of this agency.
So this has nothing to do with making the U.S. government more efficient.
Democratic lawmakers stood with protesters in front of USAID headquarters on Monday. Speaking to reporters, Senators Brian Schatz and Chris Van Hollen said they planned to block confirmation of Trump nominees for State Department positions in retaliation, while House Rep Gerald Connolly from Virginia laid out the agency's impact.
It is the lead development agency in the world, and no one elected Elon Musk to dismantle it. We are going to fight in every way we can, in the courts, in public opinion, with the bully pulpit, in the halls of Congress, and here at AID itself.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters in San Salvador he was now the acting head of USAID, calling the agency completely unresponsive.
Their attitude is we don't have to answer to you because we are independent, we answer to no one. Well, that's not true, and that will no longer be the case.
Meanwhile, Noam Unga, an analyst with Washington think tank CSIS, believes the move could come at the cost of the US position in the world.
So the US is actually currently involved in an intense and intensifying competition, a geostrategic competition, largely with China, but also with other adversaries around the world. It actually could have the effect of ceding the battleground or ceding the playing ground, if you will, and others will very enthusiastically fill that void.
The State Department issued worldwide stop work directives after Trump's freeze order, with the exception of emergency food assistance.
U.S. President Donald Trump backed away from his threat to impose a steep 25% tariff on Canada for 1 month, according to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The decision came after the two leaders had a phone call that Trump said went very well, during which Trudeau promised to deploy new technology and personnel along its border with the United States to stop the flow of fentanyl. Just hours earlier, Trump also paused a planned 25% tariff on Mexico after President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to send 10,000 National Guard members to the border to stem the flow of illegal drugs. She told reporters on Monday the agreement included a U.S. commitment to act to prevent trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico.
I
told him we wanted him to pause the tariffs, so we reached that agreement. But I also explained to him that the amounts of high-potency weapons that enter from the United States into Mexico is a serious issue.
Trump said Mexico sending soldiers to the border would stem the flow of narcotics, fentanyl in particular, as well as curb illegal immigration.
He asked me how long I wanted to pause tariffs. I said forever. He told me how much time. I told him a month. But I'm sure that during this month, we'll be able to deliver good results for his people and the people of Mexico.
Trump said the month-long suspension would be used to engage in further negotiations. U.S. tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China had been set to take effect at midnight on Tuesday.
China on Tuesday announced a wide range of measures targeting U.S. businesses, including Google, as well as farm equipment makers and fashion brand Calvin Klein's owner. The news came minutes after additional U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods took effect. The measures were announced as Beijing also slapped tariffs on some U.S. products such as coal and gas. It was something of a rapid response to the new duties on Chinese goods imposed by Donald Trump and marks escalating trade tensions between the world's two biggest economies. China's Commerce Ministry said it put PVH Corp, the holding company for brands including Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, and U.S. biotechnology firm Illumina on its unreliable entity list. Companies added to the blacklist can be subject to fines and a range of other sanctions. These include a freeze on trade and revocation of work permits for foreign staff. Separately, China's State Administration of Market Regulation said Google was suspected of violating the country's anti-monopoly law and said it initiated an investigation into the company in accordance with the law. Google products, such as its search engine, are blocked in China, but it works with local partners such as advertisers in the country. Google, PVH and Illumina did not immediately respond to requests for comment outside regular U.S. business hours.
The billionaire appointed by Donald Trump to shrink the U.S. government said on Monday he aimed to shutter the globe's premier foreign aid agency. Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX and the owner of the X social media platform, gave an update where he said the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, was, quote, beyond repair. USAID is the world's largest single donor. In fiscal year 2023, the U.S. dispersed $72 billion of assistance worldwide on everything from women's health in conflict zones to access to clean water and HIV/AIDS treatments. It was the source of 42% of all humanitarian aid tracked by the United Nations in 2024 and has a staff of more than 10,000 people. Trump has ordered a global freeze on most U.S. foreign aid as part of his America First policy. Field hospitals and Thai refugee camps, landmine clearance in war zones, and drugs to treat millions suffering from diseases are among the programs at risk of elimination. USAID also sends rescue workers to assist when disaster strikes around the globe. Trump has assigned Musk to lead a federal cost-cutting panel. Speaking broadly about cost reductions, Musk estimated the Trump administration can cut $1 trillion from the U.S. deficit next year. And he asserted that, quote, professional foreign fraud rings are stealing vast sums by masquerading as or creating fake digital U.S. citizens. Musk did not offer any evidence to support his fraud claim or explain how he reached the amount of $1 trillion. Targeting USAID follows on concerns about Musk's access to the U.S. Treasury system, first reported by the New York Times, that sends out more than $6 trillion per year in payments on behalf of federal agencies. That system contains the personal information of millions of Americans who receive Social Security payments, tax refunds, and other money from the government. Democrat Peter Welch, a member of the Senate Finance Committee, called for explanations as to why Musk had been handed access to the payment system and what Welch said included taxpayer-sensitive data. Quote, it's a gross abuse of power by an unelected bureaucrat, and it shows money can buy power in the Trump White House, Welch said in an emailed statement. Trump stated on Sunday night that Musk has his support.
U.S. tariffs on China are now in effect.
with an additional 10% duty placed on all their goods from 1 minute past midnight on Tuesday. China retaliated within minutes, with its finance ministry announcing it will apply a 15% tariff on US coal and liquefied natural gas on February 10th, as well as an additional 10% on crude oil, farm equipment, and some vehicles. A White House spokesperson had said Monday that President Donald Trump will be speaking with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in the next couple of days, as the world's two largest economies seek a deal that could avert a broader trade war and avoid a deepening conflict. The call would be Trump and Xi's first known talks since Trump took office on January 20th. On Saturday, Trump ordered sweeping tariffs on goods not only from China, but also Mexico and Canada. Part of demands they stop the flow of illegal fentanyl, a leading cause of drug overdoses in the US. Trump backed away from his tariff threat against Mexico and Canada on Monday after speaking to leaders of both countries. Before China's Lunar New Year holiday, a foreign ministry spokesperson insisted that Beijing has always firmly safeguarded its national interests, but signaled an openness to talks.
On this issue, we have repeatedly expressed China's position. We always believe that there are no winners in trade wars and tariffs.
On Monday, Trump threatened to further ramp up tariffs on China. He described Tuesday's tariffs as an opening salvo. During his campaign for the presidency, Trump had promised a steeper levy of 60% on Chinese goods. The US has said China is the primary source of the precursor chemicals synthesized into fentanyl by drug cartels in Mexico. China has called fentanyl America's problem and said it would challenge the tariffs at the World Trade Organization.